thanks for joining us for another episode of the Indestructible Food Hotline, the only show that answers your most urgent questions about non-perishable food. Today, we're talking about everything cheese, and I can't imagine a better way to spend some time. Looks like we've got our first call. Thanks for calling the Indestructible Food Hotline. This is Sarah. How can I help you?
Sarah, this is Laura calling from Stratham, New Hampshire. And I have a burning indestructible food question. Cheese whiz. It's a complete mystery to me. How can they call it cheese and why whiz? And is it really food? I'm dying to hear what you find out.
All right. Well, thank you for your call, Laura. Many Americans have encountered Cheese Whiz as a dip at a football party or maybe on top of a Philly cheesesteak, but few of us have ever experienced Cheese Whiz the way it was intended to be eaten. You see, Cheese Whiz was originally made for the British market and was to be used in a dish called Welsh rarebit. Now, for those of you who aren't Anglophiles, I'll say that Welsh rarebit is hearty slices of toast topped with a cheddar cheese sauce. It's a popular and comforting meat-free dish, but the cheese sauce is a little bit of a hassle to make. Enter Kraft, who had already mastered processed cheese and was now ready to introduce a jarred cheese that would melt when spread over something hot. The product was introduced in Great Britain in 1952, where it was a huge hit. The next year, it came to the USA, and we immediately began spreading it on burgers and using it to top our baked potatoes. Now, the early Cheese Whiz listed American cheese as the very first ingredient, but there have been some changes over the years. And now, although you'll find components of cheese in the ingredients list, actual cheese is conspicuously missing. Laura also asked about the name. I didn't find anything about who named it or why, so I consulted my handy dictionary. Whiz, noun, a person who is extremely clever at something. So this product was actually meant to make you better at something, namely cheese. You could be a real cheese whiz. I love this. The idea of naming a product after what it could help you become, rather than just referencing the product's own attributes, brilliant. I would absolutely buy a pepperoni called Pizza Professional, or a pancake mix named Favorite Parent. It's a tactic that speaks of possibility and targets that part of our brain that keeps telling us we're not good enough. In terms of marketing, that's about as good as it gets. So in summary, Cheese Whiz was cheese and is no longer really cheese. It was intended for British pub food and is now slathered all over Philly cheesesteaks. And I think with the lessons we've learned today, we can safely assume that we've all become cheese whizzes. And now it's time for a quick word from a faux sponsor. Thinking about having kids, but not sure if you're ready? Try cheddar cheese goldfish. Simply stuff these tiny crackers between your couch cushions or fling them with abandon into the backseat of your car. Consider it a preview of the way your life's gonna look for the next couple years. Cheddar cheese goldfish, a little taste of parenting. Indestructible Food Hotline, how can I help you?
Hey, Indestructible Food Hotline. This is Jill from Colorado. I'm curious, why is the dust on Doritos so delicious?
Jill, I also love Doritos and their dust. I can't wait to explore this. Modern snack foods are delicious because they are engineered to be. Nothing is an accident. If you're lucky enough to meet a food scientist, most are more than willing to talk to you about the work they do to make processed foods irresistible. Since we're knee-deep in our cheese episode, we're going to look specifically at nacho cheesier Doritos. First, let's take a look at some of the ingredients. Cheddar cheese, Romano cheese, onion powder, tomato powder, garlic powder, red and green bell pepper powder. It's a lot of powders, but I think that's about what you can expect from something called Dorito dust. Now, food science-wise, the flavor combination in Doritos is complex enough to keep our brains from getting bored. It keeps us guessing and reaching for more. Other ingredients include acidic compounds like buttermilk that stimulate the production of saliva. This is important for carrying the flavor from the chip to your taste buds. Dorito dust also includes ingredients like sugar, salt, and MSG. Those are a literal recipe for enjoyment. And that dust that you lick off your fingers, That's a concentrated burst of flavor that hits you right in the pleasure center of your brain. So we're starting to have a pretty good idea of why Doritos Dust is so delicious. But is there another reason Doritos are so hard to stop eating? Yep, and it has a little something to do with texture. You see, a Dorito is initially crunchy and then it melts in your mouth quickly. This phenomenon is something food scientist Stephen A. Witherly calls vanishing caloric density. It occurs when a food seems to vanish quickly from your mouth, triggering your brain to crave more of it. You generally won't even realize you're getting full until it's way too late. Jill, I hope we shared a helpful bit of knowledge about why Dorito Dust and Doritos themselves are so damn good. Thank you so much for your call. It too was irresistible. And now it's time for a quick word from a faux sponsor. Are you tired of awkward first dates? They're the worst. Next time, you can break the ice with a giant bucket of cheese balls. Sure, they're a cool snack to share, but they also provide endless fun. You can throw them gently into each other's mouths. Make cheese balls friendship bracelets. You could guess how many cheese balls are in the jar and then painstakingly count them to see whose guess was closer. You can even discover your date's hidden desires with cheese ball hypnotism. Your date'll be over before you know it. It's giant bucket of cheese balls. Never a dull first date. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Indestructible Food Hotline. I think today we've all become cheese champions. If you have a question about when a food was invented, how long it lasts, what it is, or anything else, call the hotline. The number is 978-CAN-FOOD, and for those of you who prefer digits over letters, 978-226-3663. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Oh, I should hold up a Dorito. A triangle one. None of them are triangles.